In my 35 years as a judge in Providence, Rhode Island, one quality I've worked hard to cultivate is patience. It's something I learned from my father, an immigrant who came to this country with nothing but his own hands. He taught me that true strength lies not in reacting to every push or nudge, but in holding yourself steady no matter what comes your way. That's something I've applied in my courtroom for decades, reacting with calm, dignity, and wisdom when faced with arrogance, disrespect, or cruelty. But today I'm going to share a story that tested me in a completely different way. This is about a Thursday morning that challenged my patience like no other in my entire career. You'll want to stick around for this one because it reveals a truth about dignity, maturity, and what happens when a young person mistakes arrogance for real strength. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The lesson I learned that day is one that'll stick with you for a long time. Now let me set the scene for you. My courtroom isn't a grand federal building with tall, cold marble columns. It's a humble municipal court, practical and human-scaled. It's a place where ordinary people come in to face real-life problems. Parking tickets, speeding fines, and traffic violations. On the surface, these cases might seem trivial, but I've learned over the years that nothing is ever too small when it involves someone's dignity, livelihood, or freedom. Take Marcus, for instance. He was 17 years old, and he walked in wearing an oversized puffer jacket, hands shoved deep in his pockets, and an attitude that screamed defiance. The kind of arrogance that says, "I don't care about this place, and I don't respect you." As he stood before me, his eyes were locked on the ceiling, his smirk as sharp as a blade. To him, this was all a joke. A $30 parking ticket seemed insignificant, a small price to pay to escape from this courtroom and go back to doing whatever he had planned. But that's when I noticed something deeper. You see, this wasn't just about the ticket. The real issue was hiding behind that smirk. There was something much more profound going on with Marcus, and I could see it in his eyes. A young man trying to act tough because deep down he was terrified of facing the truth about his life. "Marcus," I said calmly, my voice steady but firm, "do you know why you're here today?" His response was a dismissive sigh and a barely audible, "It's just a parking ticket, man. $30. I've got the money right here. I'll pay it right now if it gets me out of here." That right there, calling me man instead of your honor, was an attempt to establish dominance. But I've been on this bench long enough to know that this kind of bravado usually comes from a place of deep insecurity. I looked at him, taking note of his fancy sneakers, the kind of sneakers that cost more than the fine he was so eager to brush off. "Who owns the vehicle you were driving, Marcus?" I asked. His smirk faltered just for a second. "My mom," he replied, his voice softer, less sure of itself. I repeated the word slowly, "Your mother?" Letting it sink in, I could see the shift. The smirk, once so confident, was now a little less sure of itself. "And does she know that her 17-year-old son is standing in court this morning because of her car?" "She's at work," he muttered. "She works 2 jobs, okay? She doesn't have time for this. I'm here handling it for her." It was in that moment that I understood. This wasn't about a $30 ticket. This was about a young boy trying to be the man of the house, trying to protect his exhausted mother from one more burden. And yet, his attempt at maturity was wrapped in arrogance, hiding the vulnerability he didn't know how to show. I leaned forward, folding my hands. "I respect that you're trying to help your mother, but tell me something, Marcus. Where's your father?" The room went silent. I'd asked that question many times before, but this time I saw the transformation in Marcus's face. His jaw tightened. His eyes dropped. "He's not around," he said, his voice heavy. "He hasn't been around since I was little. It's just me and my mom. I'm the man of the house." In that moment, I wasn't looking at a rebellious teenager anymore. I was looking at a boy who had been forced to grow up too quickly, trying to shoulder a weight he wasn't ready for, and doing it all the wrong way. I decided then and there that this $30 ticket would be the most important lesson of his young life. "Being a man," I said slowly, looking him in the eye, "isn't about walking into a room with an attitude or treating people with disrespect to hide the fact that you're scared, angry, or overwhelmed. Real strength is quiet. It's about carrying your burdens without making them someone else's problem. I thought of my father, the immigrant who came to this country with nothing but his hands, working multiple jobs to give his son a better life. My father taught me, I continued, that real strength isn't shown by the size of your muscles or the loudness of your voice. It's about responsibility. It's about doing what's right, even when no one is watching. Marcus was no longer looking at the ceiling. He wasn't slouching or leaning back. He was standing up straighter, listening. Really listening. I could see the change in his posture, the shift from rebellion to self-awareness. "Tell me, Marcus," I asked, "can you look at your mother in the eyes and say these words? I was careless with your car, and I had to go to court today, but I made a promise to the judge that I will step up. I'm going to be the man of this house from now on, and I'm going to act like it." There was silence in the courtroom, but it wasn't awkward anymore. It was the heavy silence of a young man realizing the depth of what I was asking him to do, to grow up, to take responsibility. The $30 ticket didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the promise he was about to make to himself and to his mother. "Yes, sir," he said quietly. His voice had changed. It wasn't filled with defiance anymore. It was steady, grounded. "I can do that." I looked at him one last time, making sure he understood. "Good," I said, marking the citation as dismissed. "This isn't just about a ticket, it's about what you do next." And as Marcus left the courtroom, there was no smirk. There was no bravado. Just a young man carrying the weight of his own responsibility. 3 weeks later, I received a letter from Marcus's mother. She wrote that when she came home from her night shifts, she found the house spotless. Marcus was waiting for her, and he looked her in the eyes and told her everything. He apologized for his careless behavior, and he promised her he was going to step up as the man of the house. And in that moment, his mother said, they both cried. That letter, that was the moment I knew my job had been worth it. This is why I've sat on this bench for so long, to help young people realize their true potential, not just punish their mistakes. If this story moved you, share it. Share it with a young man who needs to hear this message. Share it with a mother who's doing everything she can to provide for her family. And make sure to subscribe, because as long as I'm on this bench, I'll keep bringing you these stories of true justice, compassion, and growth.